to my channel. So today I have few glass bottles which I want to upcycle. These I have collected over the past few months. Whenever something gets over, I wash it and store it so I can get to all of them together. So you can use these bottles either to store something else or you can upcycle it in a creative way. In this video I'm going to show you a few ways to upcycle as well as how to get rid of the label. So firstly, we are starting off by removing the labels. So if you have a clear jar already and here for just the upcycling part, click on the timestamps below and you should be able to view it. To remove the labels, I poured boiling water into all of the glass jars and let it sit for some time. After that, I poured the water out and started removing the labels. For the plastic one, it just came off. However, the ones where the label was made out of paper, there was a white layer of paper still stuck onto the bottle. So I wanted to soak it from the out, so I took a cloth and drenched it in some hot water and started rubbing off. So the paper is just getting dissolved with this method and I'm able to clear it very well, and as you can see, even the adhesive part is coming off very easily with this method. So you can either follow this method or because it was quite time consuming, I wanted to also try a different method with rest of the bottles. For the next method, I took a bucket full of hot water and put all my bottles inside. Make sure you fill the water inside the bottle as well so that it sinks right in. And let it sit for some time so that the paper from the out is completely soaked in the hot water and it gets much easier once it's soaked. After letting the bottle sit for some time, I took the bottle out and used my scrub and slightly rubbed on it, and the paper residue and the adhesive just came off. The printed part I could just remove it with my hand and then go on with scrubbing the bottles. It cleaned the bottles and the label was off and it was very clear. Even the other bottles came off very soon, and I let these bottles sit out and dry for some time, and once I got it after that, they were squeaky clean and they looked really good and they are ready to be upcycled. I really love how all the labels came out on this. For the first one, I really wanted to recreate one of the inspiration I had seen on Pinterest. So I had the similar bottles as well. So all you need for this is a glue gun and your jar. So firstly I started putting blobs of glue on the jar and tapping it so it settles down on the jar, and I just keep on repeating this step until my whole of the jar is completed. Don't worry if you're having those glue webs forming on your jar, we will get to it later. For now, just go with what feels right. All the blobs weren't as uniform as the inspiration, but it created some kind of natural different shapes, and I like the way it looked, so I went ahead. If you are looking at creating something very uniform, maybe you can try cut beads and trying attaching to them. So right now I'm just getting rid of all the webs and I'm moving on to the second bottle. So this is the other bottle, and because we had such natural shape where I was just putting a line and maybe like make it look like it's dripping, it was very nice and it just came together very well compared to the other bottle as well. Before we paint, I'm getting rid of all the webs which was formed while I was putting the hot glue and make sure the layer is prepped. I went in with a sponge and chalk paint of white, and as I was doing it I didn't feel that it's covering all the edges. Maybe if I had done multiple coats it would have. I wanted to do it quite quickly, so I switched the sponge to a paintbrush and I started painting it so that I can get a clear covering on all of the nooks and corners of the texture. I did the same with the other bottle as well, and let them both dry. For the second coat, I used the sponge and then painted all over. This helped me cover the bottle and have a thicker coat of paint, as well as I really like the texture the sponge gives onto these. It looks kind of ceramicish. So I went ahead and did that, and the bottles looked really well once it's done. I'm planning to put some plants in it so the green and white will look really well. For the second one, this is a macrame project, but I'm using twine instead because I wanted to have that rustic look. You can also use a macrame rope for this and it should come out good. This is a very simple technique. You might have seen it multiple times on YouTube, but I really wanted to try it out. So I got a string tied around the neck of the bottle and took out my wine and measured 4 times the length of the bottle. That's what was recommended, but later I decided I want little more hanging down, so I measured again. So basically I used 5 times the bottle and then measure out four of the same length, so that you can start creating your macrame with this twine. So you fold your twine into half and put it inside the ring which you have already made and pull out the rope from the same thing. So this is called lark's head knot, and you can use this to attach all your twines in equal distance from all the sides. So I have four, I'm adding all of them here. Once it's done, you can start knotting. As you can see, I'm taking the twine between the two knots and making a knot there, and I will put one more knot. Make sure that you're using the same rope to loop so that the knot sits one below the other and it looks nice. So I keep doing it for rest of the bottle as well. Take the next two rope and make sure the same side gets looped, and you should be good enough. And also make sure the place where the knot is coming, it is matching with the previous knot. That way it looks uniform. And if it is not uniform as well, it's okay because it gives that nice edge to the piece. So you do which works for you. Once you've gone all around the bottle, you will start to create a new row. So as you can see, between the previous two knots, I am taking the rope between them and creating my new knot. You can see where you want to space it. If you want to have them closer, you can do that, or you can space it much more far apart. And based on the length of your bottle, you might have to create multiple rows, but basically it's just the same process repeated until you reach the end of the bottle. Once you reach the end of the bottle, you can go ahead and gather all the rope together and secure them with a knot. I'm using one more twine and making a loop and going around uh, to make the knot and tying it secure. Once I'm done with this, I can go ahead and cut off the excess. So now I'm planning to make the handle. I'm using a small twine which was left over, tying a knot on either side of it, and make sure when you're tying it, it's equally aligned so that your bottle doesn't fall off. Once I did that, I thought of hanging it as it is, but I noticed the twine was slipping off and it could fall off, and I didn't want it to happen. So I went ahead with my glue gun and secured the twine, the bottom part, as well as the individual ropes which were coming out, and held it for some time. Once I done with it, it was done. I put in some plants in this and hung it near my window where I really don't have a view, so this plant adds some greenery and I really love it. So for the last one, again we are using twine and the jar itself. I really like the look it gave. So this is one of the simple ones. So first you go ahead and see what kind of or how much you want the hanging part to be and measure it out and cut it. And once you're done with it, glue it to the jar. Make sure it is aligned properly. Again, you don't want it to fall off or look wobbly. I tested to see if the bottle was hanging straight and then went ahead and started gluing the twine around the neck. I really like the neck of this bottle, so this DIY was the right thing to enhance it furthermore. For me, the twine was sufficient enough for the length I wanted, so it was pretty easy. I just went around and around a couple of times, and then at the end, I glued it and held it with a pen so that to make sure it sticking. Once I did with it, I filled in some water, put in some plant, and it looks so good. This one is my favorite out of all. Let me know which one you liked out of all the DIYs and if you would try any of it. Thank you for watching.